let's go, let's go.
Okay, but it's up to Siv Zayin. Simon Zayin, Siv Zayin. Also, the Adam, Lodem to judge, Lemishi Yoy Havoi, that he likes. Afapi Sheine Shashvini, even though they're not, Shashvini means a guy who walks down the chuppah, a very, very close friend, and is not so close, Asher Kanaf Shoy. Doesn't have to be such a big friend. It means you don't think that he has to be buddies, but if someone who you like very much, you cannot judge. So you hate Afapi Sheine Oyevloi. See, hate has levels. I don't hate him that much that I want him to die, I want him to die, but I really dislike him. Sometimes you dislike someone, and so you can't judge it. It has to be Shiyah Shnei Baladim Shuven Be'ena Hadayonim. They both have to be shuven in the eyes of the Dayan.
You can hate them the same amount.
You can hate them or love them, either one. But you can't have. They talk about it. The Chachamim talk about it. What if you dislike both of them? So no, it's not good because disliking someone probably dislike one more than the other. So it's got to be you don't dislike him, you don't love them, but it has to be. All the poskim say it has to be someone that you really like. Someone you really dislike. Sometimes someone in the community, I know him, so I like him. I mean, it's not, But
between that situation, where someone he comes to show whatever, and someone you don't know at all.
Still, you don't like him. It's not that you like him, you know him, you know of him. Everyone that comes to the shul you like? No.
But he seems like a decent enough person. You already have a prejudgment.
No, but it's not. We're not worried about that. We're worried about you shouldn't like him. So when you come to judge, that's going to mislead you. When you like someone or you dislike, just because I know him as a nice person. And I want to just tell you something. Anyone who sits in the Torahs will know that what people think outside, when it comes to Masa, we hear inside the Torah in front of a court is like him on heaven. Said I was asking him last week, Binyamin, I was asking him, could get me the court records. Why? Because the bottom line is, I've sat in the Torahs and the whole town was saying, this guy's an novel. It comes to the Torah, we hear those stories. The story is mamish the opposite. Mamish the opposite. Even in a divorce case, I hear what people speak on the skis, and I know it's not true. The whole thing is not true. It's because, what rumors say has nothing to do. The truth is, that's why, I'm coming back to what the Shiurim is saying, that's why a person, you have to be able to judge them equally. So if you know someone, then you still have to judge him. If I like him more than the other guy, and I hate him more than the other guy, that's you in trouble.
In secular court here, there's a process for asking a judge to be removed from a case for this kind of a reason. There's a conflict of interest, and the conflict of interest has to do with this type of thing. He knows the person, he did business with him, whatever. Is there a similar concept that can you say, I want this judge should be removed from the panel?
Let me tell you, interessante Pesach Tshuva over here. If you look in the Pesach Tshuva over here, it brings a very interesting story, a really frightening story. Simon Osyud Beis. I don't know your print. You have it? Look in Pesach Tshuva Osyud Beis. I'm with Tshuva Chavas Yoy. That's the Chavas Yor was a Gudla that was a nephew of the Shach. He was the G'doi Lador in his generations. He was the time of Baal Shem Tov, a little earlier. Shiv Chavas Yor, shekus Masu she'echad luva meni tu al mikzus she'pura v'nish b'resheker. A guy took a loan from the Rav of the city, the rabbi in the city, and he asked for the money. And he said, I paid you part of it. So I took him to the Torah, and the guy swore false. Then he says, he brings a story, and a year later, it comes to the Torah for me. He wants me to be a dayan. You know, people could be so, so he didn't want to make the din Torah, says the Chavas Yor. He says, not because I'm allowed to hate him, because I'm allowed to hate any other Rasha. Like the Rambam says, the law name resat mishpad of yoinchu. The Gemara says you're not allowed to tilt the judgment someone who you hate. Who are you allowed to hate? The Gemara says, you know, a guy you saw him do an aveda. So such a person you're allowed to dislike. You saw him do an aveda. So that the Torah says lesato. So he explains that the whole thing. You know, if I have to hate someone, I really don't hate him. If the Torah tells me to hate someone, it's going to be hard. If I hate him personally, that's real hate. How these Gedolim looked at life. You understand the difference? If he cheated me, and he's false, and he saw faults, then there's no way I could be a judge. If I dislike him because he did an Aveda, I could still be a dayan. The Torah says, Lasata mishpad yoinchu. But if he personally cheated me, anyways, I just want to tell you for the record, till about 100 years, or less than 100 years, people used to swear. Bezdin would make people swear. The whole thing not swearing, it started just very recently. You go to the Torah, no one wants to swear, but there's such a thing. The idea, but you see, one after another, some Sefer Shuvas that the guy he made the guy swear. Shua Deraisa. Okay. I know in court, I don't know how the court works, but I do know you haven't been, when I heard it, a guy had a RCC case, and he went to appeal it in court, and with how, because the other guy's son does business. Yeah, I don't know how this works. That means one of the Dayanim's son did a business with this guy. It was totally something else, nothing to do with this. And the court, for that reason, disqualified RCC's Psak Bezdin. That's how it goes.
I mean, I hear,
And Halacha has nothing to do. Since then, all the Butadinim here, you have to disclosure, whatever, that you know that we know each other, and if we know each other, you don't mind. Okay.
In court, sometimes I've seen a judge here in our courts. He'll come out in the morning, just mumbles off something. Said to him, in this court, I said, please saying, I used to be a DA, my wife's still a DA, so I just say, DA, and you listen, you don't listen, I don't care. I'm just giving you a disclosure. The judge was saying it. So he's giving a disclosure. No one's paying attention. No one even knows what he's saying.
There was a disclosure that what?
That he used to be a DA and his wife is a DA.
So why is that?
Therefore, someone might have a problem with the judge because the DA is prosecuting somebody. So he mumbles it, but no one even hears. No one knows what he's saying.
A few years ago, there was a case in the valley with the Sifrei Torah. Remember the case? Shul. There was a rabbi.
Yeah, and a shaygetz. Yeah.
I guess he passed away. He wanted to get the
Sifrei Torah
back for her kids, and the new rabbi that had taken over the shul wouldn't give them back. So they went to the RCC, and the RCC ruled that the Torahs go back. And then they found that I guess one of the Dayanim of the RCC had given like written a paper or something about this concept or an interview or whatever, and as a result of that, the court threw out the decision of the RCC because they said that rabbi's was I guess biased or whatever.
I didn't understand that. I read that case and I didn't understand what bias that has to do. I have no idea.
Just reiterated the Supreme Court. I went to the Supreme Court judge to speak, and he said, so someone asked him a question about a case that was in front of me. He said, a case that's in front of me right now, I'm not going to talk about it. But they all all the time give interviews about their positions on issues that are in front of them. Why doesn't
So,
it make sense?
that's why this thing didn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense. If it's a case in front of you, I understand.
It didn't make
All
sense.
was pending while the lawsuit was
Right.
pending.
I don't know. Anyway, so but halacha is that even though you know someone, people. I just tell people that the Pesach Shua brings down a Zohar Kudish, very interessant Zohar Kudish, very cute Zohar. The Zohar says when the Bnei Salafchat came to Moshe Rabbeinu, it says in the pasuk that they came to Moshe and Aaron and Eluzar HaKohen. So Rashi says, why does it mention Eluzar HaKohen? Because he came to Besmedrish in front of both people. Because if Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know, how should Eluzar HaKohen know? Aaron wasn't alive anymore. So the Zohar says a whole different reason. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to paskin this. Because one of them, the Zohar brings one of them, the Bnei Salafcha died because he spoke against Moshe Rabbeinu. You know, it's machloikas why who Tzalafchet was. Mama Duma says Mekosh is. Mama Duma says another Chaturim. Machloikas in the Gemara. The Zohar says he was one of the people who dabri b'Moshe. So Mamela no. So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't pass him. So if they lose the din Torah, they're going to say, you don't like me. That's why we lost. So it's Milza the Chassidus. Moshe Rabbeinu, how you say in English, reclused? How do you just recused himself? And so the person can bring down. I always tell people, whenever you go to a din Torah, just told someone today, you're going to a din Torah. I want to ask you, if you lose, are you going to see you'll be cheated? They were not fair. I'm not losing. You know, I know you're not losing. But let's it's amazing how I am not losing. But let's you would lose. It's a lot of money for you. What are you going to look at the Dayanim? That they were inexperienced. Then go to New York. It's worth it for you. It's worth the time and effort. It's $900. We're talking about $700,000. We're not talking about something small. You should go to the thing, because that's how we start. If you feel comfortable losing, then if you don't feel comfortable losing, then don't go there. I just say it's Eitz Tov Kamashmalan. Okay. So the Machabavata.
How does the RCC work today? Do you get to choose?
No, they have this is a 3 Dayanim. You want, you come. If you don't, you don't.
So the RCC, you don't get a choice of who's your.
Yeah, you have a separate choice. You could choose a dime for yourself. Other person could choose a dime. RCC is 3 people decided to make a bezdin. Any 3 people could do it. There was a lawyer in my community. He wanted to do it, and I tried to encourage him to do it. What's his name? His name again? Remind myself. Cohen. Make a bezdin. 3 lawyers wanted to make a bezdin. Yeah, want to make a bezdin. I said nothing wrong. He wanted to make that people sign the document. They should sign to go to his mediation. There's a big business today, mediation, a huge business.
The RCC, they rotate rabbis, or they just
No,
have
these
straight
3
rabbis?
stand rabbis.
But how does it work if you're going to the dinner with somebody that davens in Rabbi Betz's shul or something?
I always tell people, don't.
Huh?
I always tell people, do not go there. Even though Pialoch you're allowed to, but people, if you lose the Torah, you're going to say, you know why I lost it? Because they hear the davens in the shul. And the truth is, I don't think a Pialoch is allowed to, because many people give the rabbi extra money, so.
Who are the 3 rabbis?
The RCC is Rabbi Sauer, Rabbi Union, and who's the third one? Rabbi Vess. Yeah, but you could go to Rabbi Teichmann. You could choose a dime for yourself. Zeh Boirelech was to see.
So the concept of one party chooses one and one party chooses
Yes.
the
So that the truth is, the Pesach Shiva has a long arichas, and he holds that you're not allowed to choose someone who likes you very much, or you're going to choose someone who hates the other guy. It's even better. Hate is always
What
better.
about culture? For example, like the Babachik from Rabbi Shustin, for example, or somebody from a different community. They're up there represents their community.
As long as I can't believe that just because he's a Lubavitch and not Lubavitch, he'll pass him for his favor. But no, not at all. I just tell people there's 2 things: the halacha part and the practical part. The halacha part is, as long as he doesn't hate you, as long as he doesn't love you, love you, like, as long as he knows he likes you. That's not what we're talking about. It could be a dime. But if you tell me you're going to be afraid, because I once told the Lubavitcher not to go there, because it had to be a little bit with something with Lubavitch, and I know that one of the Yonim is anti-Lubavitch, and you're going to lose the entire, you're going to blame it for that. And he didn't listen to me, and I was right. Afterwards, he was furious. He's anti. I don't think it helped into anti-Lubavitch, but you know, when the rule is when you win it in Torah, the best not tzaddikim, balaricha kodesh, the sweetest guys, and you lose them in Torah, they're interveltnik. You know, I don't really know what that means. That's the mafia and who knows what. Very few people ever came to me. If I really owe him the money, please tell me, and I'll pay him.
But you have that in it's about $10.
Yes, that's small money. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, let's move on. It says, "Shnei balim shubein adiyum babli bami b'lo yimakir shim echamim b'lo yismasav ein l'chadayim tzedek kamoi." The best dayan is he doesn't know any one of them. Doesn't know any one of them. That's the best. Me iduni the name din. The Ramu Paskins. If you said on the din Torah and you like one more than the other, the din is a din. You can't throw the din Torah out. Not like in secular court. You're not supposed to, but if you said it in Torah and it turned out you didn't know this halacha, you ignored this halacha, and it turned out you happen to like one of them better, the Torah is in the Torah.
Retroactively, you can't.
In the court system, they would throw out a case because you had personal shaykhs with the guy. You remember something? In the Torah over here, the halacha is that you shouldn't judge someone who you like very much or you hate, but if you did judge it, we don't throw the case out. But the evidence, okay? That's a real betoch eva. That's, you know, if you really hate him that much, you wouldn't talk to him for 3 days. Or you have a mamish yesh shavina v'reyoi, he mamish takes it down the chuppah, be'ili ain't the name then. That means the extreme hate and the extreme love. Yesh omrem the chol sheina havoi oisone mamish. If he doesn't hate him mamish, you know, the mitter doinoi ve'ein le midas chassidus nahachmish shaloi doinoi. It's only most of the chassidus. So the Rambam is explaining, how could you judge someone? Most people choose the rabbi as long as, you know, he doesn't love him very much. I know him, he could be. The Pischat Shuvah says, but if you really hates the other guy and really loves you, you can't even bazeh barer etzosa. The minig oilam is not that way. Minig oilam is that people take a barer, to choose their dayan. They choose someone who they like very much and they knows them, and with the rabbi who he pays money always, you know, make sure the rabbi gets a check, you know.
But if they both like the rabbi,
I'm just saying. But let's just say we're talking one of them. One of them has a better shaykh than the rabbi. So the poskim are very much bothered. Many poskim hold you're not allowed to choose such a dayan because he's going to be biased. But the truth is, the mini golem is this way because everyone knows now the din Torah is going to be based on the middle person.
if you're doing a Zavla type of thing.
Yes. I want to just tell you, I'm trying to help a Zavla in town. And I'm pushing them to go. They didn't want to go to Dion. Do you know it is over 2 years they haven't got to first base yet. 2 years.
$6 million?
No, this is probably just $100,000 in total. You know why? Zavlua, I don't know if I said the story over. There were two partners, Harad and Torah, with a third guy. One of the partners said, I'm my chelik, I'm going to pick a Zavlua, and we're going to, sure, okay. The other one says, you know what, I'm going to Mechanarua. You happen to this guy, huh? It cost them the whole Torah, I think, $3,000. The other one, who took Zavlua, was $28,000, and they haven't gotten yet anyway. Because Zavlua, he has to meet, and we have to meet. And each dine takes a lot of money. And for them, the longer it takes, the more money they make. And, you know what I mean? And that's how it is. Zavlua. If you go to a professional Bezdin, you go to Mechanei Ruah, there's no shtick, there's no nothing. You come, you say a story, finish, vati yangan. Once is avlua, it's a little bit corrupt. The guy, the longer I'm in the case, the more hours I put in, the more money I get. See, the Mechayin the Dayanim, don't get a penny more or less. They get paid by the organization. That's why I always tell people, why is OU a great hashgacha? Isn't that amazing? The modern Orthodox is a better hashgacha than almost all the hashgachas. Even a little better than OK. Why is that? The guy who runs it doesn't take $1 more if he has another hashgacha, doesn't get a percentage, nothing. Gets a salary. They tell him, do whatever you want to do. So I used to help a guy who used to run the West Coast. So he takes his hashgacha one place, so what? He doesn't care. It doesn't fill. Heimish hashgacha, every company is buying panusa.
Sure.
This is the money. Wait a minute. It can't be possible. Let's help him. Let's help him. Let's try to help him. We are humans. But, that's why, same thing as Avlua. Avlua is, the guy gets paid well and, it schleps. Anyways, but the Paiskim really don't like this idea that Avlua should take someone you hate or like, but the mini goyim is not that way. The mini goyim is
everyone pays only his dime.
yeah, that's okay, you're allowed to. That's okay.
Everyone pays all three, everyone pays his one.
And pays his, and the Kedr paid third one. It's okay, but the bottom line is, that that's the meaning. In a daita dehucha, you're going to this condition. Okay. Kikol echad boir lo have v'chol shken sharav yuchali is dain letamidoi. Can you imagine you tell someone, my Rebbe was the dain for me?
By Zablo.
No, regular. Today we are so insecure about life that if a guy thinking of such a thing, he'll blow his top. I always claim that today we suffer from being insecure. My hashgacha is the only hashgacha, and your hashgacha is not a good hashgacha. My rabbi is a good rabbi, your rabbi is not a good rabbi. It became like so silly and childish, even amongst adults. Shulchan Aruch says a few cases where the Rav was a dime from one of his Talmidim, and no one said boo. Today, I can't even imagine. If a guy, he just knows him, a guy when he called me today about should I use one of the Dayanim, do you think he knows that party? This happened to, I told him he knows him because he lives in the community, so what? He knows, no. Okay, I tell people, doesn't the Mechaber do. Philip Bez Napus Eluden, Shemahava, Vishina Yuchaloy Shidayu Nachelik Shem Shidoini. Now, what happens is the best in the city, Taka apostles themselves because they hate this guy, they like him, but they have to, that's the meaning, remember we had this before, they would make Dayanim, understand? So they could appoint, you can't say that we cannot appoint Dayanim. The best in the city, you pass me because I like this guy very much. Okay, I'm not going to be a dime, but the best together can appoint 3 people to sit on the case. I can't sit in the case to Paskin, but I could surely be Mamana Dayanim.
But that's only when you have a real Besdin, or is it?
Yeah, real Besdin. I'm talking real Besdin Shebir.
Which doesn't exist though.
Doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
Someone just told me the other day that on Crown Heights there is a voted Besdin.
Yeah.
You might not agree to it, someone told me, I understand this politics, but it was voted. If it was voted, then it's a real Besdin. Okay, zog de Mechaber weiter. Mi shoym al adain shisanoi o yahavoy, baldina in an amen. So
If they
chayledu.
get voted, the guy has to be a dime though. They don't
Yes,
get voted.
yes, for sure.
It's part of the politics.
Yeah. Oh, that's the problem. Okay.
At least 2 out of the 3.
No, you need all 3.
Wait, the 2.
Okay.
Then you have 2 already.
Okay. Better we stay out of politics.
But I don't think the other 2 are voted either.
Mi shoymer al adain shisanoi oyev, baldina ein an amen. He's not Naaman. He wants to pass al adain. He says, how could you be a dain? You hate me. You like me, or you like the other guy. No, you have to prove it. This is interesting Gemara. The rabbi put a guy into Chayrim because he was a Mazal to cover the Rav. The Rav could sit in the Torah. As long as I had to put him to his place, but I don't hate him. That's it says. Most people cannot swallow this nowadays. Imagine the rabbi put the guy into Cherem.
Yeah.
We don't have confidence that the Rabbanim have such good character anymore.
I don't think that's the
Once when you
problem.
read this,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see
but
that they trusted, that they're able to put their own feelings
I
aside.
don't
Today we
think.
never believe something.
No, but I don't think that it is because see, Kash is also not. All due respect, I find it all the time.
That what?
A guy who has a satmer, but not a Babich Shchita. Babich, not a satmer Shchita. I ask the people, what do you think, they're not from people? It's childish. It's very, very like, you hear this all the time. That guy doesn't want to trust this guy.
What does that have to do with,
I'm saying today, I believe that what he was saying, I believe it's nothing to do because they don't trust the rabbi's character. There's a terrible insecurity amongst people. Maybe it always was, but I find that people are very insecure. They don't trust other people. If it's not my group,
Can put his own feelings aside. Today, you never hear such a thing.
see, let me go off topic here. The question: what makes a rav? Just because he's a pulpit rabbi of a shul makes him a rav. If he doesn't learn Torah, a lot of Torah, he doesn't know how to put his feelings aside the right way. He doesn't know how to look at the Torah the way. I gave a shir yesterday. They asked me in the valley to give a shir about molestation. Why it was right to go to the. So I said to the oilam there. I explained that if you want to go with the Torah diga halacha, the story of Leiby Kletsky, the famous story of Leiby Kletsky. The murderer, should walk on the streets. The guy there looked at me and I fell up because I says there was no Adam. There was he incriminated himself. Chazal say Ein the Mesim Atzma Rosha, and they found the evidence in his apartment, but maybe someone else did it. I didn't see him do it. If it was Mana Bezdin, they would let him go. That's not even true because Bezdin, Rajba learns. I explained that Rajba there has to be another type of a law besides what the Torah says, otherwise it'd be chaos. People have a hard time. There was a Rav arguing with me, a big Talmud Chochem over there, but he's not you have to learn the Halacha as well. And the problem today is that many people, categorize a rabbi the wrong way. That's the problem. Okay, zog the Machaber weiter. Shnei Talmidei Chachamim asonim zeh zeh. They hate each other. Asir leisha bedin. Now, I didn't hate someone. But I saw one Saturday in Torah. I don't do it for years already. I don't sit this Avador. But that's one of the reasons I stopped then. I had someone, I was sitting in the Torah, and I took out a Shulchan Aruch. I showed him Shulchan Aruch why the pastor guy attacked me out of the blue. And I realized he was just jealous. I don't know exactly what it was. Not because he hated me, because, I tried to tell him, in Shulchan Aruch and Children, so Shulchan Aruch says clearly, you're wrong what you're saying. He was trying to say something and why we should pass him this way. So, and also he's not a Shulchan Aruch person, he's a rabbi of a shul, and but I saw that after that anger that he had towards me, that no matter what I said, he's not going to hear it. The other diner listened to me. But I noticed he was so hurt, jealous, I'm not even the right word to say. That's what Mechaber is saying. If you see the guy doesn't have good character, or you hate each other, then you cannot sit in the Torah. The guy's going to, whatever you say black, he's going to say blue, and he's going to say whatever, That's when people hate each other, they cannot agree to anything. At one time I was at a wedding, and a guy asked me that they called up two Edom. They called them up already. He says, these two Edom don't talk to each other for who knows how many years. I haven't talked for, I think he said 10 years. They were angry, got into a fight, they were business, and they got into a fight, and this other guy was close to them. I says, I don't remember any place that there should be Posel Edom. I looked it up then, and I didn't want to say anything. I was not beside the Kedushin. I said, I don't remember it should be a problem. I looked it up afterwards. It's only by the Dayanim a problem. And Ed, so what? I dislike you. We're saying Edis on the Kedushin. And what's the name? On the Dayan, they hate each other, then we have a problem. But the Dayanim who dislike, the Dayanim dislike is a problem. Ed, who doesn't like the other Ed, so he doesn't like the other Ed, big deal.
What does that do?
Right.
So really, seems that Rabbanim, if they dislike one another, they should make it public so that someone doesn't mistakenly call, you know.
It's always public.
You said it's always public. That's not, you'd be surprised.
I'm kidding.
No, disliking,
saying?
yeah, disliking is a level. There's many, many levels of disliking.
I was talking
You
to a
could-
Rav once, not that long ago, and he told me, yeah, there was some Rav that really disliked it. Whatever, he didn't tell me who the Rav was, but like, if I wanted to, you know, go to a Dintera and with this guy and call another Rav,
They're like, they
There's
miss the point.
their
obligation.
their obligation, not your obligation. You're missing the point. The Dayan who dislikes the other Dayan should not sit. Since you know that you hate each other, you're gonna knock what everything guy says. You know, it's Dayan to Dayan problem. Okay, zug the Mechaber. We can move on quickly over here. Kol apsilim lehayid machmis kurve, your relative, or machmis aveira psula lodem. That means you can't sit in the Torah against the first cousin. Second cousin, you know, a second cousin is kosher to be a ed. Many people don't know this.
First cousin's not?
The first cousin is not, and the second cousin is allowed to. But anyway, so or the guy.
what is Machmir?
Yes, it's just people are machmir because they don't know the halacha. Anyway, so so it means if the guy is a relative, the in edis we here didn't in the dayonos with sem halacha. We're going to learn a bunch when you could possibly get ed. But dayonim lo yikreim zelazeh. Dayonim not allowed to be relatives. V'lo yileidem. Very, very important. Remember, the poskim talk about it. A guy did a shtick. The times of the Remu, the guy was an Oiber Chacham. He knew this guy had an ed. Let's say you're my edus. So the guy, the other one, I haven't Torah with him. You're my ed. So he knew you're going to be my ed. So he chose a dayan that's going to be cousin to you, to passel the edus. So when the Remu says, no, he can. He cannot choose him. The famous choose the Remu. You have to choose a different dayan.
What's Kroger?
Kroiv means relatives.
So how does it work? If the Bezdin was already, let's say, established, this is who we're using, and then I bring my aide who happens to be a cousin of one of the
Start from scratch with a new dayan.
You boot the Dayan off and the aide stays.
Yes, yes. Right.
Even if it's a permanent
A bezin, we're soon going to say about bezin kfur, the Mechaber brings down, but it depends on the minigoir. If Shechon brings down, there used to be at Kona, so you have to remember, in Europe, there used to be small shtetelach, they couldn't travel from one place to another place. So that Kona, that these three Dayanim are going to be Dayanim, even if there's a relative in the sound, and even though
the
Edom relatives, and even though the Baldin is a relative, I died to the Hocha, you moved here, and you did business, that these three are going to be no matter what. Because they made such a tkuna, they made it for practical reasons. Okay. Dayin shidei b'chaveri shigaz in the Rusha, and it started for me. It's a Gemara. The Gemara says, you know that Dayin is a Rusha, and it started for him. You don't sit with him on a din Torah. It's very difficult. How do you know a guy's a Russia? You know, but
Every guy did tshuva.
yeah, but no. Well, no, you don't do tshuva so fast.
You know the guy was in Russia, then.
Unless you follow the Tanya's advice, it's not so easy to do tshuva. The tshuva sarash says, I want to tell you tshuva sarash because this is the question that everyone asks. How could you put the guy into jail now? He's going to get 25 to 50 years. He did tshuva. Let me tell you, someone asked this question to the Rosh, the tshuva sarash. The Rosh brings a raya, we don't say a person does tshuva. This is the Gemara Masechtas Gittin. Gemara says there was a guy who was kidnapped by cannibals. What it says? So he came to the Baba and begged him to redeem him. So he wanted to redeem him, and they said that you can't redeem him as oichel nevelis, he eats nevelis. So the Baba says, yeah, he eats nevelis. Tiyova. Tiyova means for cheap. For, he doesn't eat nevelis. It's cheaper. I had a Russian neighbor. When he moved to Russia, he became from, the Babich made him from. Chickens, he refused to eat kosher chickens. I'm not going to pay 5 times the price. He kept Shabbos, he kept Pesach, I kashed the kitchen, he even bought hand matzahs. I don't know, a chicken, was a chicken in the head. He couldn't. That was a member of the Tauber. So the Bekitzer, then he says, no, he's a member of HalachaSrs15. They bring Adam that he was a member of HalachaSrs15. So the Baba says to the guy, what can I do? They don't let me redeem you, you're a member of HalachaSrs15. So what's going to happen now?
Eat him up.
You're going to eat him up. You don't think he's going to do tshuva now? Take the Rosh. He knows that now that we pass to them, tonight he's lunch for these people. So why? So you see, the Rosh says, we don't just say guy does tshuva so quickly. It doesn't go so quickly.
Well, the Gemara says, Shema he did tshuva, but
By Kedushin, the Mamish Machavan to Rosh's Kasha, the Rosh says that only a Chumrah by Kedushin. Mamachman by Kedushin, the Rosh says. The Kasha is, the Torah says not that way. You can do tshuva very easy. I don't know about you, but it doesn't go so easy. It
At the
doesn't.
end of the day, as a Dayan, you shouldn't take him. But that doesn't mean that maybe he can't be a rabbi in a shul or something like that.
Take him talking about what?
We're saying that you can't have a Dayan that's a Russia, right?
You can't sit with him right to Russia. Ain't a start of him.
Right.
If you know that he's a Russia, you shouldn't be start of him.
What's a Russia?
Right.
Rabbi,
What I'm
what's a-
saying,
what is a
beyond
Russia?
that, you compared it to how could the guy sit in 50 years in jail or whatever? I'm just saying that not sitting with another guy that
Yeah, I know.
died, you could assume he maybe has not done tshuva, but
Right,
the
for
flip
sure.
side is maybe he
Yes.
doesn't have to go to jail.
That's true. Yeah, we're just saying you shouldn't sit with the person who
Well,
who's a Russia.
What determines a Russia?
Otor's a Russia. This guy's a Russia. He eats nevelis.
He what?
He eats nevelis. Let me tell you what the Rishonim say. The translation of a Russia is no. Let me just say define. A Russia is that something that the majority of the frum people don't do. Lashon Hara, unfortunately. So you can't get a guy speaks Lashon Hara, he's supposed to. Otherwise, but most from people don't eat chaza. Most from people don't live with a shiksa. Don't have a shiksa.
So he cheats on his wife?
With the shiksa? So forget shit. I mean, if it's a shiksa,
No, I'm saying if he cheated on his wife. for
what does that
example,
mean? Cheat on his wife? She
slept
had.
with another woman.
She went to the mikveh. It's a pelagish. All depends what he did. All depends. All depends exactly how how big the Aveda was.
Why wouldn't you say most Dayanim are not doing that?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, he's not saying most. He says no, what happens. You know someone who does it. A Dayan and Ed.
Is it the Tanya version of Russia? Like you see someone you see
No.
It's actually
Because according to the Tanya, that you just mazalzan is even though everyone is makpid on it, you call it Russia. You spoke Lashon Hara, you're Russia. Even though unfortunately we all speak Lashon Hara. That's a whole different set of rules.
No, but it's clear that most of the Banim would not cheat on their wives. However, whatever.
Not talking about, you're talking about a person makes a Russia, he does something that most from people will not do.
Right, so
Most from people eat kosher. They were,
he uses the internet maybe.
most from people use the internet. But I'm saying it has to be something that most from most from people keep Yontif. They don't drive to Yontif. There was a guy in my community many years ago. He used to drive Yontif.
Second day only, or?
First day, yeah, he was an Israeli. Yeah, man, a lot of make a fire. He moved away afterwards because I'm just giving a mashal. According to this, it's called Eino Isamasa Amcho. I tell you, I was Masad Kedushin. So the guy was the Machabed and Ed. The Ed tells me, Rabbi, I'm not sure I'm kosher in Ed. Very interesting. Why? I went and testified against another Frum Jew in court. The person had no right to take him to court, but I was angry and I went to testify. So maybe I'm posted to be an Ed. The truth is, he will be posted to be an Ed. The reason he's not postal, I asked him, why did you go? Because I had no idea it was wrong. People told me, you're allowed to go, you're allowed to go. It's true, a lot of people don't realize you're not allowed to go to court. The Chaymer Advorim. Yeah, they think, they don't realize the Chaymer Advorim. That you don't become postal. Besides that, I told them, Einu de Meisam Atzma Rasha. You can incriminate yourself.
Right against the information. What if there's a chash? There's a lot of rabbanim nowadays. There are people around who there's a chash that they're a molester.
Chashash is nothing. You mean there's more than chashash?
Maglaim would know.
Reglaim
I
would do
mean,
it.
there's things that the people, there's accusations, but they're not founded in the sense that they're
See,
not
the
legitimate.
Gemara talks about it. It's a whole sugya, but it's called a kula doloi pusik, a rumor that doesn't stop. So the Gemara says a rumor that doesn't stop has to be something that we know he doesn't have enemies who brought it up. But let's say the enemies who spread the rumor. You know, it's very easy to spread rumors. You know that. It's very, very easy. No big thing to spread. You know, Hitler did it. The Germans went into towns of Poland in the beginning, and the rumor was everyone's going to Palestine. People just came out of the woodwork. It worked for half a year, then people realized that a rumor, just got it out, got people to give out a rumor. But let's say something is not a rumor. It looks like, I don't know, but the people tell me the story in London. It looks like it's not just a rumor. It's more than a rumor. I have to be there, but knowing that. Then he's possible to be a dayan. It's possible to be a rav. It's possible to pass geshalos.
But the person who has the possible has to be the other client, not the litigant.
Well, you know, there's a big fight. You know, you want to turn this off. I don't want to be on record. I don't want to be on record. Let me explain this all. The Rashba says that there is a rules that the Bezdin used, and many claim there was a judicial system besides Bezdin, where you cannot follow the Torah. No murderer will be ever convicted. You know, if a murderer will not be convicted, the place will be lawlessness.
So,
We know what's
how do you understand the halacha? How does it work?
The Torah had its rules and regulations. That's Exeris Akosov, but the Torah says that has to be law and order. And the Torah wants you to have law and order.
standard do they use?
Do you know what standard they use? I mean, you're a district attorney. You know what standard they use? The Bruiser B'Rib Shimon was told the guy, and he did it himself, go to a bar in the fourth hour of the day, and you see a guy drinking wine. If he's a Talmud Chacham, he's awake all night. And if he's find out his job is a laborer, and if he's not a Talmud Chacham, not a laborer, you know what he's busy? He's busy robbing people, arrest them. Imagine, there's not even a word against another word. This is the weakest. I don't think this thing would ever take a case. You know, I found the guy drinking at the fourth hour, and where does he get his money? According to this Gemara, I asked a few addicts, how in the world did you get the money? He says, there's no way an addict could get his money unless he steals. There is no way in the world. I heard this from a few addicts. He says, well, who did you say? I'm not going to tell you. He tells me, you can't have how you say in English, supply addiction, what's the word? Feed your addiction. So according to the Bluza B'Rib Shimon the Gemara, every addict you should arrest and put in jail. The Romans didn't put him in jail. You know what the Romans did to a guy like this? They hung him.
They didn't like it.
Because they held, so the Rashba says, why they didn't like this, the Rashba says, because the Sanhedrin held that we should not hang a guy who steals. We should cane him. Hanging, killing, the Torah doesn't say you kill a guy for stealing. That's what the Rashba explains. So he was not such a miltzah the Chassidus. The Rashba calls it's not a miltzah Chassidus, but you shouldn't have done it. It's not a chassid doesn't do such a thing. Meaning to say, there's nothing wrong, but he shouldn't have done it. So according to the Gemara, you're allowed to be an FBI agent, you're allowed to be a district attorney. And if a frum guy comes to you, put him into jail.
So the nefashos and the Torah have nothing to do with law and order.
No, nothing to do. But the Torah says a guy Mechal Shabbos nothing to do with law and order. Murder, it has to be very real as a person kills someone in front of two Eidim with witnesses. That's a rarity.
So if you're working as an importer for the government, then you can muster somebody when it's helping?
Well, that's a separate. The Maser is talking about taxes. We're talking about anti-society. You know, the guy sells drug, he's a molester, he's a murderer, he robs.
The Rambam says you have to pay taxes.
That's true. There are many things I have to do. I shouldn't cross a red light neither, but it has nothing to do to tell the government I crossed the red light. You know what I mean? I'm not doing something anti-society. Talking about society cannot be, if you cannot arrest a murderer, cannot arrest a molester, you cannot arrest someone who hits people, hurts people, a guy who embezzles people.
That's not Masira.
That's not Masira.
Only anti-government.
Yeah, if a guy, in my community, we had a guy who was embezzling. And, the rabbi was there, he didn't want to put him into jail, didn't want him to have him put it, till he woke up, the rabbi, he embezzled $5 million from all the people. So he embezzled the wrong guy, then he had to run to South Africa. It was ridiculous. If right away, you would just say, go to the police. I've told people, go to the police. What is Bezdin going to do? Bezdin is going to call him, did you embezzle? I don't want to go to Bezdin. What are you going to do? Well, how is society going to work? Because can't have that. It doesn't work. It's even worse. Let me tell you why it's worse. The first time I noticed this was many years ago. There was a guy, a shrewd guy. He took about Shuva, very tmimizdik. Tmimizdik means very simple. And he put him into business, and the whole thing was fraud. The FBI came to him, and they knew the FBI. I don't know. They know everything. They knew that he didn't know what it is, and then he's just Tom and him. They know everything. They just wanted him to make sure that who's the guy behind. So the guy calls him up. You can't answer me. You know what I mean? So the guy asked me. I said, you should go tell the FBI exactly. So then I get a phone call from an alter Rav with a long white beard. Did you say he should master me? I said, yes. That's what it says in Shulchan. He doesn't have to go to jail because you lied to him.
This is Rashba you're talking?
No, this is another than Shulchan. If you are in cahoot with a guy, let's say, okay, we went off tangent, but this guy who was arrested for contempt of tort, he didn't want to. If you were in cahoot with the guy or the avla, you cannot put someone into jail.
So if he was involved in the scam.
He was involved. He cannot. But Rabbi, what happens? You had no idea. I'll tell you another story. A guy calls me up. I said the story once. A guy calls me up and he says to me on the telephone, she tells me the pi base ayin is here.
The FBI.
Took me a minute to chap. So first of all, I said, you're not telling me you called the rabbi. You're not telling me you called, and they'll come back. He says, I'm shaken up. And what was the story? A guy sold him schoira, merchandise, and didn't tell him it was stolen. He told him for a little cheaper, and he's a wholesaler. He buys clothes out, and he had no idea. So the FBI wanted to know who delivered. They knew that the truck was delivered to him, but who was the one who arranged it? He had no idea. I said to him that you're allowed to go, you're allowed to tell the police. But he says, you know what, I'll pay you for the lawyer. Okay, so to stall it. Okay. I'll pay you for paid for $5,000, and then it cost another $5,000. He calls him up, the guy doesn't answer. I told him, just tell him, if I don't have a kashish check tomorrow, I'm going to the, what's his name? FBI. Boy, he got payment. In the end, he had to tell the FBI anyways. It didn't work. The lawyer was able to push it off, whatever. And you have to speak to people in the business, how much you could push it off, and then boom. And then you run out of... and of course I told him he's not allowed to say. He's not mechuyev to go sit in jail. He didn't do anything wrong. But if he would have known that this is stolen goods, you can't go put him into jail. But there's another question. Is that anti-society, a guy buying stolen goods? That's a big machlokes in the Elchonon. But I don't know, I see that's a separate issue. Stealing is allowed to, the Ramah says a counterfeiter you're allowed to report it on. I had a guy call me up that's a from guy who sells drugs. I says, don't tell me who, don't tell me where you're calling from. Just go to the police. Later she calls me back, they call the police, knew exactly, the police says, we know exactly. We want to catch the supplier. We're keeping an eye on that. She noticed in the block, people just drive up, and the guy comes in, gives a bag, and a from guy selling drugs. Why are you allowed to? Because selling drugs, you are hurting everyone. They cannot supply their addict unless they're stealing. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Yid Aleph, Bezna Shegimel. Bezna Shegimel Tzurich Shir B'chol Echad Mem Zayin Dvurim. If your point of Dayan has to have these 7 things. Chachma, you know, the Mepharshim say, he's got to know Choshim Mishpat. That's besides the point.
It's given.
That's given. He's got to know his stuff. But we want him to be a Chachma, because I want to explain to you something. Unfortunately, you know, it's not enough to know the Shulchan Aruch. You have to have a great understanding about people. You know, you have to understand what a guy, L'moshel, I was sitting in an Torah, and the guy was, how do you say in English, squirming? Every time I pushed him a question, he wouldn't answer. Finally, after the Torah, he writes a wrong email and I got a drusha. So with Dayanim discussing why at the Torah he didn't want to say it. And I said, you know why I didn't want to say it? It's a lie. He was afraid to lie about the guy. One of the Dayanim says, no, we asked him, and in Yiddish we call it Piram Torah. You know, he kept went off topic and wouldn't answer the question. So you need chachma. You need to, you know, sometimes the cases are much too difficult to discern who's lying, who's not, and what's going on. You need chachma. It says you need another, you need yira. You need to be a Yerushalayim because it's very easy, you know, to be swayed the wrong way. He says, sinas muman, hate money. You know, the Welt says, Yiddish Welt, in Yiddish there's a saying, for money, I could get a soina butza too.
For money, I can get a what?
I could find someone who hates money for money. There's always Yiddish saying, what a little money cannot do, a lot of money always accomplishes it. It's always the price. So anyways, but it is such a thing. Yesterday said, soina busa, soina moment, ahavas emes, he says, ahavas abriyist, and Baal Shem Tov. This is very important. You know why you got to be a Baal Shem Tov? Because if the guy is going to lose, he's going to say, you know why I lost? The guy. So and he has a bad name anyways. So people, you know, he had a bad name anyways already once. You know, so got to be someone who always had a good name, Bal derech Eretz, and not about machlokes, and then that's 7 things. But it says clearly that's just the very nice thing, not. Any has to be anua. No, not just because he knows them. He has to have anua. This is a famous Shuvas Marik, was it? I think he stole the Sefer Torah, and he said, the Dayan of that city cannot judge because they needed the Sefer Torah. They need a Sefer Torah. So cannot judge. You have another Sefer Torah, so they don't need it so badly. What happened? This is also true. A guy on his deathbed said, I want you should give for the tzedukah money a munah. Munah was a lot of money. Why can't the judges judge there? Because if he's going to give a lot of money to tzedukah, then we don't have to take the pressure off us. So he has a negiah. So that's called the negiah, that even though how much money he's going to give a small amount, but if the money tzedukah is going to get it, it takes off the pressure from them. That's enough that it's called a negiah. What do you say?
The English
Oh, it's bias, yeah. Anyway, then listen. Ein le'else medalje, chad machze b'shloisha av the chad machze b'shalem of the dinner. The nafshe, look over there, it's a whole arichas. Lefikach iskei hamas. You know, they used to have, again, they imposed, if you lived in a shtetl, they imposed a tax on the kehillah. We don't live, it's sad that we don't have this, but you came into a kehillah, you wanted to join a shul and you had everything, you know, your kehillah, you had to pay a tax. So that tax, they paid the Rav, they paid the whatever. You know, the bottom line is, you know that how poor the Rabbanim used to live in certain places, in Russia, especially Russia. You know how the Rabbanim used to get paid in Russia? They had the rights to sell the lecht. They had the no one was allowed to sell lecht. In town, only them. That was the panos, imagine. Truthfully, that, and Hungary was different. Hungary was balabatish. They had money, and it was wealthy, and it was run differently. But in Poland, more in Russia, it was almost a disaster.
But what about today, where like, I was wondering about this, like, take London, for example. So like London's had a Beis Din since before the war.
After the war.
After
the war.
That was the London Beis Din, which I think is established like 1934 or something like that.
Before the war, yeah.
Since then, it's been carried on. Now, I think the London Beis Din they earn their income from the hashgacha that they give. They give hashgachas, and that's how, that's the main income for the Beis Din. I'm sure that all the rest of the gittin and all that stuff they charge whatever for. But that was always the set Beis Din in London. But then, I guess some years ago, the Heimisha community came along and figured like that's not from enough for them, so they invented, a new Beis Din. So do you say in some
How was he
ways-
paid? How was the Beis Din paid now?
Yeah, it's all from hashgachas.
Yeah, that's not good.
They all make it from hashgachas.
I was just saying, you understand why that's not good.
And it's
So it's what?
to help many people.
The reason why Goch is not good is because then they have a bias, like you used the word bias.
To help many
You know what I mean? So he's going to pass
For
them.
what?
So he makes sure the cash is not going to be A1 because every Hashgacha they get more money. That's why the OU in
But
America,
it's not personally enriching these rabbis, that's just
but they need the money.
Why doesn't it not apply to OU?
See, the OU, let me explain to you. OU is a subsidiary of the YU, something like that. Not the OU, I forgot which one, not the YU.
Kashrus is part of the OU.
OU. And so they hired someone 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I want you to run the cash. You're getting a salary. If you parcel, we don't care. It's no good, it's
They're
no
in
good.
business, though.
No.
More business they
No,
have.
no.
Money personally.
He's not getting.
The RCC, Rabbi Van doesn't get paid extra when they certify a new company or a new restaurant. He's the kashrus administrator for the RCC.
Well, like
It's
say
a
across
salary,
the street,
whatever
whatever
it
it
is.
is a board, no one owns it, they don't get more
As
money.
opposed to other hashgachas where.
The other Hashgacha is a private Hashgacha, but even the RCC, because it's a small thing, so they're very afraid to take Hashgacha off of someone. So they're going to lose money. When it's so big, the OU, they don't care. I watched it. They couldn't care less. They,
Somebody there that gets a salary or.
gets a salary no matter what.
No one's getting paid based on production.
Production.
Or
Now, if you get paid with production, you want to make sure that let's not take it off so quickly. Truthfully, 25 years ago, the Moshe Weiss, they wanted actually give us Shgacha for Mendel. There was a whole fight. They took all the Shgacha. I said a big loy with an olive for two reasons. I said, just if they're going to pay me, so my payment, my panos is going to depend on him. So if I want to parcel him, I'll have a hard time parceling him.
Landau Elchonon Be'ebra told my brother Levi Elchonon when he first started giving hashgacha, if you want to give a hashgacha that people should be able to rely on, never take $1 for it.
That's true. And the second reason, I said, I don't know how to scream. I'm the type, I don't scream. I would say tomorrow, the Hashgacha's off. And then you guys are going to scream at me why I didn't scream at him. That's I said, Baruch Halaken Shivdulim in Hashgachas. Yeah. But you see from the Shulchan Aruch, when a person has negia, just with the taxes, how difficult it's to paskin. I mean, the city taxes, the own city taxes, the Yonah cannot paskin because they're getting a benefit. How much benefit? Because if you're going to pay your taxes and you're going to make you pay the taxes, so it'll be the burden less on us. So they have negia, they can't paskin.
What if they don't know who pays taxes?
No, the guy who's called to Besdin by the tax committee, he hasn't paid his taxes.
Oh, in that situation.
Right. When I'm talking, how do it work? Guy didn't pay. And I go to the Tauber, and he says, I did pay. So that's the question. So the Rabbi says, maybe we'll see to next time, unless they have it written into the bylaws of the city, that the city's Bezdin is going to pass in the taxes. Then you came to live at Daita. And that's how many cities have. They couldn't run from one city to another. You accepted that the Bezdin, you live here, you want to be with us, you have to accept how we even though Halacha it's not that way, they're not allowed to, but if you live here, it's like you're accepting what they'll do. That's what he's saying over here. Fikich iskamas ein duna beyoyse ir mit hem lemer kreim gerik boy mi mas bruti ein eles mankus ich hoyn tsas men kol stalek shelem nu mesev dayunam. I don't know exactly. It used to be a tax, but only a small tax where people the Yonam could exclude themselves. If there's a tkuna, or she has minig be'ir, shedaina be'ir yudoini, that's the minig city. Afal inin amasa din din. The din is a din. You understand? That means the reason the din is a din, because it's not your master masha kusibetoira. This halacha, later learn, a person could accept a false dayan with a kinyan. I says my father should be a dayan. You could do that. So Mamela, just like that, they could accept that these three dayanim should paskin even though it's going to be negaya. Yeah, right. Okay, Rabbi say.